Hello everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name of someone, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to a very sucky episode of Straight Chilling. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 216, recorded on Thursday, May 22nd, 2019. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a movie called Vampire's Kiss from 1988, as was chosen by our lovely Patreon supporter, Miles. Thanks, Miles. Much love.
Thanks, Miles.
Thank you, Miles.
Before we get into the show, let me introduce everyone else on the episode tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., my boy Randy Gandy.
Undisclosed location.
yeah, no shit. The Shadow Man. If you want to catch the behind the scenes on YouTube right now, Randy is in full silhouette for some reason, and he looks very menacing. You see like the light blue glow from his microphone. It's pretty great. Randy, what's up, man? How you doing?
I don't know. Did you guys know that I was deep throat this whole time? It's me.
You've been deep throating this whole time, Randy?
The whole
How you been resting?
Man,
You got some talents.
Damn,
that's a loaded name. That's a loaded nickname to have.
True that. Last but not least, calling in from Southern Korea, my boy Soju. What's up?
What up? It's your boy, Vampire Stains.
Sucky Stains.
Apparently, I don't know. We'll get into it.
Yeah,
This
maybe.
wild accent. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about this movie.
Yeah, we gotta work through a couple things.
I can't even try to minute. I'll lose my shit.
The work never goes away. So first up, let's blast through this housekeeping real quick. Just a reminder, the June poll pick is posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're going to talk about this June. The theme for June is Korean horror movies, and the 3 movies that are up there for you to vote between are A Tale of Two Sisters, The Wailing, and Thirst. So jump on it. You've got until the end of the month. If you wait for June 1st, you're too late. Too damn late, son.
How those numbers looking, Bob?
Still The Wailing. Handling.
Straight to the top.
Still The Wailing. Juice, do we have any new YouTube or Twitch stuff going on? What's going on?
Damn, I uploaded a lot of video game stuff this week. Played through some more Bindi and the Ink Machine on Monday, I think it was. And that game's frustrating me a little bit. It's got some pretty high highs and some pretty dull lows, but we've got one more week left to go with Bindi and the Ink Machine. If nothing else, it's like really cool to look at, and it's still like delivering on those jump scares. When it hits me, it's pretty good, and I've got the like video stream going now, so I think it's pretty good. I'm like, oh shit, the typical tension bish stuff. So I got that going. And then uploaded some others as well. I had mentioned last month that I was playing through the Borderlands series, and they have this really awesome DLC that's up on the Twitch right now. I'll be getting it up on the YouTube soon. Oh, man, but it was just a little too early. It's totally like Halloween. It's actually zombie themed, but it's very like a tongue-in-cheek kind of game, like the humor in it. It's very like this kind of dark humor. So they're able to like dive in. They do like werewolves and like Frankensteins and stuff like that. And it's totally, and like jack-o'-lanterns, and it's totally perfect for like Halloween. And I was like, not yet. Oh shit, not yet. Like two more months.
Just 2.
Just 2 more months.
That's all we need.
But I went ahead and played through that. It's really awesome. I'll be uploading that on YouTube as well. Also, just getting ready for next week. Our next movie that we're going to be covering is Brightburn. And I said I would announce when the next movie poster giveaway is going to be. So next week, tune into our next episode, and we'll be giving details out for that next poster giveaway for Brightburn.
That's right. Thanks, Juice. And another reminder, this is this coming Friday, we're going to be doing our very last Joe Bob live watch party for this season. So this is the
shit.
9th Friday in a row. Definitely, if you haven't been able to catch any of the other ones, make sure you jump on this Friday and hang out with us. It's been so much fun the past 2 months doing this. I freaking wish I could be there this Friday. I won't be able to make it, but Randy is going to be hosting it, and he'll take good care of all you ladies and gentlemen for sure. Fucking
Hollywood Bob.
I'll at least stay awake. Unlike some other hosts I could name.
Yeah, I made it until like 1 o'clock or like 1:30ish, and then I fell asleep for sure. So
Jesus.
My bad. Yeah.
What? Damn. Dude, if I wasn't in Korean classes, I mean that's 2 p.m. my time. Holy shit!
Yeah.
I cannot get on the Joe Bob train. Sorry, guys.
But yeah, definitely tune in for that. If you want to check that out, we're going to post a link to join our live watch party on our Facebook page and on our Twitter page just before showtime, which is 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fun for all ages. Also, I just wanted to very quickly recap the Shortbox crossover live show that we did last Saturday.
Ooh, yeah.
We had our very first crossover show with another local podcast called the Short Box. They talk about comic books. We talk about horror movies. So we combined our forces and we decided to talk about Creepshow, both the movie and the comic book, right here in Jacksonville, Florida, at the lovely Justice Pub. It was dope, man. I'd never really done any sort of collaboration at the Justice Pub, and it's just like a great venue for it, man. They've got a nice stage, like projector screens. We had the movie playing. They had like a really nice sound system set up and everything. They were just like very accommodating. We had like games brought in. We had this DJ Crumb as a local DJ. He brought in this like arcade cabinet that he built at home. I think he said he ordered the pieces off of a website called like Arcade Solutions or something like that. And it had like 20,000 games on it, like from every system.
Holy shit.
It was awesome.
Dude, playing like Majora's Mask on that shit.
Yeah, he had
arcade style.
He had like a Zelda build with every Zelda video game. Like,
oh my
among
God.
many others. It was great.
That's ungodly. There's some dark magic in that
I would never
shit.
be able to choose. I would just be
Right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
That's
I saw
too
the
much.
pictures on Instagram. They looked like the setup looked really awesome.
Yeah, it worked like really well. And just a big thank you to everybody that came to the show. Whether you listen to Shortbox or Straight Chilling, or whether or not you just kind of stumbled in and had no idea what you're getting yourself into, like, thanks for hanging out with us. Everybody was like very responsive during the show, which was great. People were kind of chiming in. I saw some familiar faces. I got to meet some new people, and just a big thanks for the Jacksonville community showing up and supporting podcasts and just general nerdery. It was a lot of fucking fun, man. Thanks to everyone. I was like,
that's awesome.
So this is like way too much information, but I was like crazy sick last Saturday all fucking day. Like,
oh damn!
Shitting your pants.
Yeah, like I woke up.
Okay.
Like, this is too much information, but like I woke up with a start because I had diarrhea, and then I literally just stayed in the bathroom for like 8 to 10 hours. No fucking lie. And I was like, man,
holy jeez.
I was so worried because I was like, man, I might have to bail on this show because like I can't be running the bathroom every 5 minutes like when we're trying to do a podcast or whatever. And we had to reschedule it once.
You can.
We had to
Just
reschedule.
get the old butt plug pumped in there, Bob.
Just butt plug it. Just do that.
Just find you a cork, buddy. You'll be fine.
Stop it up,
It was like, I don't know, it was stressing me out though. I finally, I ran out of the house. I was scared to leave the house, but I ran up to Walgreens to get some medicine real quick and took like the maximum dosage required that's allowed for an adult human being before it's like a lethal dose of Imodium. And I just and it finally stopped where I could go to the show, and I was very thankful for it. And I was just I didn't eat anything at all that day, and I was just sipping water. I was so worried. And then I didn't shit for 4 straight days. So that's been my week.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Rough week,
God
Bob.
damn.
Well, huh? So back to the
Man.
short box. This is crossover.
Yeah,
Bob, did they record that?
Yeah, we recorded it.
This is
Comment?
Yeah.
This is coming on the heels of somebody on our Slack, Pia on our Slack, praising us for not like being disgusting on our podcast so much.
Dude.
So sorry, Pia, we completely broken our streak.
We're all human. Things happen. I just wanted to, I don't know. I just wanted to share for
Shadow
some
Mang
reason.
over here.
Shadow Mang. But yeah, it was recorded. Shortbox released it yesterday on their feed. I'm going to wait probably till the weekend and then I'll put it up on ours. So if you weren't in town, you weren't able to make it, you'll be able to check it out. The show ran a little over an hour or so. But yeah, that'll be a nice little bonus episode for everybody out there. So check our feed for that. Coming at ya.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Bob. I know you got that Joe Bob PTSD coming
Yes.
up. You know,
Yes, I
since it's ending, you know what would be helpful to fill that void?
What's that?
Maybe a little sex box action. You know, maybe get the old Friday the 13th going.
I saw
I think
that.
when I'm coming to town, I'm going to finally set up Bob's sex box.
Let's do it. Let's make that like a priority when you fly all the way to America is to get me to play more video games.
Sorry, Grandma, I have places to be.
I gotta slam some sex box with my boy Bob.
Bob, I can't leave you hanging. You know, I know your Joe Bob is very precious to you.
It
We
is.
got some oversexed teens that need slasher in, Grandma. I gotta get going.
Grandma. I know I just flew 2,000 miles or however far away you live. I don't even know. But I got
I think it's like 4,000.
That is
I
a
don't know.
low
It's a lot
ball.
of money.
80,000 miles.
8,000. I actually have. It's a lot. 14 hours.
I don't know. I've never been to Korea. Anyways, let's
Not yet.
let's go ahead and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randy, what you been watching?
Well, let's see. Aside from a few things that we watched on Joe Bob this week, I've been like kind of just letting things run in the background a little bit. I watched The Terminator while I worked. I watched Breaking Bad while I worked. It's like I'm just doing a lot of that stuff. As far as things that I actually like was paying attention to, though, I would say I watched that All That We Destroy Into the Dark episode. I haven't mentioned that I watched that yet, have I?
No.
I don't think so. But it was pretty good. I would say that it was on the upper end of that series for me in terms of quality, and but it still kind of like suffered from some, I don't know, like it almost, all those movies that I've seen so far have like little points to them where I'm like, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. You kind of have to kayfabe muscle the pill down in order for it to like take effect. But and this one in particular, because it was like slightly more grounded, it was basically like a Black Mirror episode, but maybe with a little bit less love and care in the writer's room, it felt like, to me personally. But overall, like, I thought the acting was great for the most part, and except for it had that kid from Happy Death Day who I just like. No offense to the guy, I'm sure he's a good person, but I just kept seeing him, and like he's got the one face. He's just got the one face, and it just does the same thing the whole time. And it's just kind of bewildered, maybe a little disgruntled, and then occasionally he'll give a smile. He has two faces. He also can smile. But I enjoyed like the thought behind the show, and just sort of I like that it came from a theme of motherhood and all that stuff. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. Other than that, there wasn't really a whole lot of new stuff I watched. I watched some YouTube shit, ContraPoints and stuff, but other than that, I don't have much to add to that.
All right, then. Juice, what you been watching?
Dude, I'm getting ready for next month, or trying to. So I can maybe know my shit a little bit. I watched a Korean film from 2015, a horror film called The Silenced. So I watched that, and it was pretty cool. It's kind of a weird mix, and they did it really well. It's like this like fairy tale horror, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of like A Cure for Wellness. But at the same time, it's kind of cool too. Like, it was like A Cure for Wellness kind of mixed with like maybe some Pan's Labyrinth, because it's like also like this history thing too, or like it's set in the 30s, I think, like 38 or something like that. And it's like really interesting from that perspective too, because like, you know, like we see like Nazi movies all the time and like European movies like from the 30s and stuff like that. But you're like I never think like, what was everybody else doing like during the 30s and stuff like that. And Korea had Japanese like occupation. So like Japan was occupying them. So it comes from like that historical like point too. And it's really interesting because like I know like some Korean now. And so I'm watching this Korean movie with English subtitles, but in this movie they are like making them like speak Japanese too, or like they give them Japanese names and they make them like count in Japanese, and like they're girls in this boarding school, and so you get this like interesting perspectives too. So I'm like playing this game, and it's like, can I tell like when they're speaking Japanese and Korean, and like because to me it's all English subtitles or whatever, so it's like really interesting and just kind of like the context of that, but it's also just like a cool horror movie as well. So I really enjoyed watching that. Like I said, from 2015, the ending, there was one aspect of the ending I kind of wish they didn't explore a little bit, but overall I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's got this weird thing where it's like the music behind it, it's got this really weird like fairy tale kind of vibe, but also like some really great horror moments. It's like it's a great blend. They do a really cool job. It's an interesting flavor movie. So yeah, The Silence. I'm trying to get up on my Korean horror so I can, you know, drop some knowledge maybe.
Hell yeah.
I've been living here so long. But yeah, so I watched that. I watched Vampire's Kiss twice.
Nice.
Dude, this movie, oh my God. Of course, we wrapped up the old GOT.
Uh-huh.
GOT
Oh, God.
is finished.
No more time needs to be spent discussing that, I think.
Also, on top of me playing that like Halloween related video game, I'm also still just kind of slowly working my way through that BoJack season. And the latest episode I happened to watch happened to be a Halloween themed episode. And I was like, God damn it.
Damn.
I was like, 2 months. 2 months. And then on top of that, Tyler, the Creator, dropped a new album, and I bring it up because it's called Igor, which I'm, you know, kind of got some kind of relevance. But I've been on that too. It's pretty cool. It doesn't have any kind of horror Halloween themed. It's actually kind of a cool like summer breakup kind of album. It's pretty solid. So I've been digging on Tyler's new album, Igor. But I think that's about it.
Cool. Have y'all heard of that HBO miniseries Chernobyl? You familiar with that?
Y'all, have you heard of this Chernobyl incident?
Chernobyl?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's
I saw the trailer for it with I can't remember the actor's name, but yeah, I've seen the trailers.
Yeah, it's it airs on Monday nights, and they just had their 3rd episode, and I've been kind of keeping up with that, and it's fucking great. I highly recommend you check it out. It's like it's got this like looming dread over the whole show for obvious reasons, and it takes itself pretty seriously, and it like really really explains like what's happening, like how this like reactor explodes, and like the steps they take to try and minimize the damages, and like the KGB is involved, and you kind of get into their corruption and like how they're lying to the public about it and stuff. So there's all like these different aspects, and you see like people with like radiation burns, and they explain to you like the different steps your body goes through when you get exposed to like such horrific radiation, and it goes on to show it. So this isn't like quote a horror show, but it's like some real life horrific shit that happens.
Real.
That sounds like some shit that Becky would be having me watch.
Yeah, it's like
yeah, don't tell her.
It's like
she just heard, and she's on it like a hound. She's
nice.
all over it. She's hunting it down.
Radiation burns. Yes.
I love it. But it's like, as far as just like
we're getting buck wild in the bedroom tonight.
She just said she'll never listen to our podcast, so don't worry.
Lies. But if you're looking for like kind of a serious new show that definitely has some like horror elements to it, I highly recommend Chernobyl. Other than that, I've been watching. I just kind of been watching some shit on HBO recently, I guess. Y'all familiar with that show Barry?
Yeah, with what's his dick?
Yeah,
what's
Bill
that?
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like his show. He even like directs some of the episodes. But yeah, it's starring Bill Hader, and he plays like this retired army vet. He was like a sniper in Iraq, and he sort of has this PTSD stuff. He comes home from the war, and he doesn't know like what to do. He's having trouble finding a job, so he becomes a hitman basically. And he kind of he gets sent out to LA to do a hit, and he discovers that acting is like something that he loves to do. He just sort of like falls into it. So he starts taking these acting classes, and he tries to like retire as a hitman and just pursue acting as his career. But his partner like kind of won't let him retire, and he keeps falling into these situations where he has to do things he doesn't want to do. So it's kind of a drama, kind of a comedy. There's like some really serious elements to it. And there's also just like some very bizarre, like one-off episodes that are like almost bottle episodes, kind of in a way it reminds me like Breaking Bad would do randomly, that are just cool as shit. So it's I don't know,
cool.
Another fucking great show. The second season just ended, so I just finished that. It's been on my mind. It's also got Henry Winkler in it, and he's fucking great. Henry Winkler's amazing.
That dude, he's getting old, man. Holy
He is,
shit!
yeah.
That man's been a working actor for a lot of years. Good for
Yeah,
him.
man.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all I've been watching. I just kind of want to talk about some HBO shit. Check those out. They're great. But let's go ahead and get into the main event, talk about Vampire's Kiss. Kick it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
What is on the back of the box? Allow me to read Vampire's Kiss from
Can you read it?
1988.
Can you read it in the voice?
Oh, no.
Without losing your shit.
The mid-Atlantic-ish fake voice.
I'll do my
Dude.
best, yeah.
Hurry, so we can talk about this film.
Here we go. Teetering on the edge of sanity, volatile literary agent Peter Lowe tries to find purpose in his life through a cutthroat work ethic and a hedonistic nightlife. But when an encounter with a mysterious beauty leaves Lowe convinced that he is turning into a vampire, his behavior turns positively outrageous. That's the best I got.
Ooh, that
Dude,
sounds
that
like
was
a
pretty
1-800
good.
number. It
Thanks.
was pretty good.
I think that was pretty good.
It was pretty good. It started rough, got better.
Yeah.
You're on it.
Yeah. So, like
Nice job, y'all.
y'all, like I mentioned earlier, this was chosen by our Patreon supporter Miles. Thanks again, Miles.
Miles, thank you. I would walk 500 miles.
Oh,
Just to watch a vampire's
you just
kiss.
bought yourself a dad joke, Miles. Congratulations.
Oh man. So, yeah, directed by Robert Bierman.
Daddy stains over here. Am I right, boys?
Gracious.
No, you're not.
Gracious. Starring Nicolas Cage, Maria Conchita Alonso, Jennifer Beals, and some other people. So, were you guys familiar with this movie at all? Had you seen it before? What was in your brain when you were going into this, and would you
So-
recommend people check it out? Randy, take it away.
What I knew about this movie walking into it was this. I have watched the supercut or a supercut of Nick Cage freaking out on YouTube probably 10,000 times. And I knew that probably 3 or 4 segments of that supercut were from this movie. And I could probably have recited it for you by memory, but I had no idea what the context was. I didn't know much about the movie. I knew there was like something about him going insane and think he's a vampire because, of course, in that supercut, there's a scene of him screaming, "I'm a vampire, I'm a vampire, I'm a vampire." So I kind of figured that much out. But other than that, I knew that it kind of had a reputation as far as him going, like, because of those scenes. But aside from that, like, no, I didn't really have a clue about it.
Cool. Would you recommend people check it out?
Oh yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would recommend that.
Juice, what about you?
I didn't know anything about this movie, and I'm like really glad that I didn't know anything about this movie. And yes, I would absolutely recommend you watch this movie twice in 1 week if possible.
I would say there's a little bit of sexual assault triggers going on. So
yeah, sure.
I would
Yeah.
that kind of, but that's it. I think it's a pretty amusing movie for people who can stomach that much.
True, yeah. Yeah, I didn't know anything at all about this movie. I'd never even really heard the title. I'd seen that meme going around with Nicolas Cage where he's got the crazy bug eyes. And I didn't
Oh, and
know-
the teeth. I've
Yeah.
seen like a meme with the teeth or whatever.
I didn't know what that was from. Come to find out it's from this movie.
Yeah, me neither.
So it was a pleasant surprise for me, and I highly recommend you watch this shit. It is something else, man. It is. I would not say this is a good movie, but it is fucking enjoyable. So check that mother out. I'll go ahead and drop that spoiler warning, and we can finally get into this thing. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
Vampire's Kiss, gentlemen. Let's do this
think-
thing.
I think I watched my first viewing. I think was maybe Sunday night, so it was like kind of early for this cast. I mean, I guess. But I just couldn't wait to talk about it, and so last night again, I just went ahead and watched it again
Nice.
before this cast this morning. It's this is the most bonkers.
God damn.
Dude, this movie is so bonkers. Holy shit. I'm just sitting in my room alone. Dude, there's hardly a moment that goes by that I'm not just cracking up at this movie. I don't know what they're trying to do. Like this movie defies all kind of odds. It makes no goddamn sense. That accent that he does. It's so ridiculous.
Video footage of a man unraveling on camera. Come to youtube.com/straightchilling.
I wish I had a video of my face the first time I watched these opening scenes where he's in the where he's just in the therapist talking to the therapist, and I was like, what is he doing? What is he doing? I still have no explanation for what the fuck is going on. This movie is fucking bonkers. Holy shit. Oh my God. This is one of the most bonkers fucking experiences I've ever
We need to
had.
get more specific with this because while a little it's a little bit hard to describe, but we got to try here a little bit.
Yeah.
So Nick Cage. Nick Cage is a literary agent. He works in a little shabby, not really shabby, kind of an office, standard office for the time. In the
seem pretty
80s, he's going
popular.
out. Yeah, he's going out clubbing and meeting women and is doing okay with them apparently. And this movie starts at a club, at a very, very 80s club.
Candle budget on fleek.
This is somebody who had just finished watching The Terminator. It topped techno noir for 80s club. So Nick Cage picks up this woman, and they go back to his apartment. Everything's good. They're having a great time. They're extremely drunk. That's clear. And he's got this sort of
Get the Yabos.
nice studio.
So half
We
star
get some
for that.
Yabos, but it gets interrupted by a bat flying through his window, which he tries to swipe away and all this stuff. And the woman runs outside, sort of I don't know, scared of the bat, but not really. Still having a good time. And essentially, that sort of kicks
kid
off.
Kid in the hallway gets a face full of Yabos.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. And mom's right there to snatch him away as soon as she sees. Nope, not for you, boy. So from there, we just sort of start. This is actually the most disorienting part of the movie to me. Was the first, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, because it seemed like they kept doing this thing where it's there would be an establishing shot, and then they would just ignore that and then show him somewhere else. It seemed like I was about to really shit on the editing of this movie based on the first act, basically, because I was like, what are they doing? They showed an establishing shot of him going into his apartment, then they show him somewhere else entirely, and then they show him coming out of the apartment. There's some scenes where things just aren't logically adding up in terms of the edit. And I don't know, like, if that was, I don't know what that. I was thinking, is this a choice? I don't know. It's hard for me to tell. Just like how I feel about Nick Cage every time he's on screen. And
that's fair. Yeah, and then a large part of it, like he keeps going back to his therapist or whatever. So after this incident, he's talking to his therapist, and he's just, his whole thing too is just like, I'm meeting these women, I'm picking them up, I'm fucking them, no big thing. And seriously. So we're going to get into the ending of this movie. And based on that, I like to make any kind of logic out of this movie and what it means and how the hell it got there. I'm like, does this dude have syphilis? Because like, that's my only explanation for what.
I'm going to lean back. I'm going to lean back and hear this explanation. You're going to have to go into that one.
It's just, well, I mean, he's, it's the fucking 80s and he's like going buck wild, and his whole thing is he's just picking up chicks and he's living the club life. He's living and he is like, I mean, I think at some point maybe he's like doing some coke or something. So he's going kind of buck wild. Essentially, this is like another take on like American Psycho almost, essentially. Yeah. This is like
there's a lot of American Psycho in the DNA of this movie, or vice versa, I guess.
Yeah. So, but I mean, without getting like too much into it, so like is essentially like Nicolas Cage thinks he becomes a vampire in this movie, which he doesn't. He's not, and he's just like killing people as if he's a vampire. And then, but by the end of it, he's having all these hallucinations, and like the only explanation I can have for anything that makes fucking sense is he's like got fucking syphilis. It's like rotting his brain out or something. Like, what the fuck is going on?
I think he's just got like some mental issues, because like the movie starts.
No, he's sane.
No, yeah, he's going fucking crazy out of his mind, like, because he starts. So he's got this secretary at work, and she can't find a certain file. Her name's Alba, and he just like lays into this poor woman throughout the whole fucking movie. And it's like not even important to his work to have the file. Like whoever needs it is like, yeah, just get to it when
take
you
your
can.
time.
Yeah, it's no big deal. So he's just doing it to get this like power trip. Like he's just fucking with this woman. And that's like,
it started off where he didn't know it wasn't important because it is like a big client. So he like kind of is like, oh, you got to get on this. You got to make it work. And then he like brings her to his office, and he's kind of like chewing her out for like not getting it done or like not finding it. And as he does, he gets like the phone call like from the guy, and like, on the phone he's like, oh, it's no big deal. Like I understand we have a lot of files or whatever. It's really old file. Take your time, no big deal. But he can't like let it go since he's already started fucking being a dick about it.
I think he's just like a fucking crazy person who was about to have some sex with one of these ladies he brought home, and then a bat flies in the window, and he's already like all boned up when this bat flies in, and his crazy brain connects the two, and he's like, sex, bat, I'll be a sexy vampire, and I'll hallucinate this woman that I'm about to have sex with is also like a sexy vampire, and she turned me into a vampire, and I'll turn other people. It's just like this convoluted way for him to have power in his own life.
Even that, though.
I'm grasping
people
at
have
straws.
schizophrenia. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
I guess, but I mean, there's nothing to indicate that, like maybe the bat was like the trigger. There's nothing to indicate that he's like a boss at this big company. I mean, he's like a fully functioning human being when we meet him, I guess. I mean, except that he's like going to therapy, but there's no indication. I mean, by the end of this movie, he has raped and murdered people and is living under his couch as if it's a coffin. I mean, he's eating pigeons off the street.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no
one of my favorite scenes is so he's obviously not a vampire. He doesn't have teeth. So he goes to the store to buy some fake teeth. He can't afford the nice enamel ones. So he buys the like $2 plastic ones that you get in your fucking Halloween bag. Oh my God, I love that shit. And then he puts them in.
And the rest of the movie, he's walking around with them bitches.
Yeah,
he just fill up his mouth.
He
commits to them.
When he goes to the club and he's doing, I fucking love this whole sequence. He's got the teeth in his mouth. He's walking through this crowded ass New York City club. He's doing the full Nosferatu walk with like his hands at chest height and his fingers outstretched, and he's just like eyes bugged, walking all creepy. And then he bites
This
that
is a
girl.
great scene.
He finds
and
a girl.
Yeah, he goes up to that girl and he like clicks the teeth too, like hitting on her.
Yeah, he's like he's an accomplished like womanizer in some capacity. Has been established. So it's kind of funny that he's put in this position where he's acting as crazy as he's legitimately thinks he's a vampire, but women like because he's just like got this experience approaching women, I guess. It almost plays as like just a method of hitting on them, and then he just eventually they're like, oh shit, like stop, like eventually it finally dawns on them. But at first they're like, oh, this is cute, this guy's got an angle, he's trying to be funny, whatever, and they're out there partying or whatever. So I don't know, I thought that was kind of funny, and he's definitely like aping it up so hard that if you saw somebody doing that, it's one or the other. Either that person is legitimately insane or that person is being funny, and you're trying to be a charming like Joker, and that's fine too. Like
when he bites that girl and actually sucks the blood from her neck, and then like throughout the rest of the scene he's just puking it back up. I love it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This movie has some really disturbing, brutal thing. Like he
very disturbing.
Kills this girl with plastic vampire teeth by biting her neck and then like really drinking her blood. And he's obviously not a vampire, so he's puking it up in the club. And the thing about it is too, like, okay, so at the very beginning he's with this girl and he sees this bat, but that's not the chick he associates as a vampire. He just picks up another random chick like another night, and then that's the vampire. And he sees her at this club, and he has this whole breakdown where she's like, oh yeah, like I kind of remember you. She's like, how are you doing or whatever. Like he's being real weird and freaking out. And she's like, oh, hey, okay. Yeah. What's up, man? How's it going? And he's like losing his shit. And like, it comes out like, because before that he would have like visions like, oh, this vampire is like showing up to him. And you're like, okay, maybe like he is a vampire. Or maybe he's like, the slave of the vampire where she's like sees him. But nope, she's just like chilling up in the club and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, so it just comes out that he is absolutely 100% like insane, and it keeps getting worse. He starts having
so
these
much
like
worse.
hallucinations of his boss, or not his therapist, and like giving him this new woman, and like him admitting to like raping and murdering people, and she's like, oh, it's no big deal, everybody goes through things, nobody's perfect. And then he's like living in his apartment, like I said, like he flips his couch over as if it's a coffin, and that's where he sleeps. And it's just like,
but he's still like, and then he like pretends like he can't walk around in the sunlight, but then he's forced to because he has to get to something. I forget what happened, but like
because
he's under a certain
morning.
He's on it. It's morning. He's like, no, and he's acting like he's melting or whatever. And then he just kind of keeps walking, and eventually sort of gives up on play acting that he's melting, and instead just sort of operates like a crazy person who's been distracted by another crazy
sunglasses. And
he does the sunglasses, everything. And then, oh my God, dude, let me say this: the woman who plays Alva, her name is Maria Conchita Alonso. She nails it in this movie. I totally sympathize with this woman, not just because Nick Cage plays it so fucking crazy, but she's like so vulnerable the whole movie. I felt so bad for her. And when he shows up at her house and knocks on her window and her shirt's off, I was like fucking flipping out. Like that was the most like genuine emotion besides like laughing at the movie that I had the whole time. I was like, nope, this is bullshit. Get him gone.
When he actually raped her, I was like, gee, because you see him torturing this woman the whole fucking movie, being the hugest piece of like shit, being like, and like you see her at home too. She like talking to her mom and shit. Her mom's like, oh, you need this job. Like, oh, why are you like, not going to work and stuff like that. Like she really like desperate to have this job. And like Nick Cage, her boss, just treat her like complete dog shit, and then it ends up to where he like actually rapes her. And I was just like, for a movie that's so ridiculous and like so off the wall, it was like a bit of like a gut punch, or like, oh fuck. It comes back around, but
I hated watching that, and it really pissed. Like I had the appropriate reaction to that, I think, of being like, this is fucked up. I hate that this is happening on my screen, and then I'm watching it. But actually, it makes sense. Like this movie, is defined by committing. It commits to every aspect of its premise in as far as it wants to go, or as far as you can go with it, it's gonna go. It's gonna go all the way. Motherfucker sleeping under a fucking sofa is just the funny aspect of going insane and thinking you're a vampire. Like, the not so funny parts are the murder and the rape and all these horrible things that he's doing. And the movie does not, it's not excusing him or anything like that. It's just leaning into, like, okay, well, he's insane. He thinks he's a vampire. He's going to single a woman out and victimize her, and then he's going to single another one because he thinks he has to feed and all these. Like, it follows the logic train all the way to the station, and I appreciate that. It's a commitment.
Yeah,
and then he gets fucking myrtleized. Like, even his ending is brutal as fuck, dude. He's like carrying around this like sharp piece of wood that he ripped off from like a package crate, and he's just like carrying it around. And the brother of the woman he rapes like just essentially comes into his apartment and like stabs him with it. Just like stabs him right to the fucking heart.
Basically his ass, like this guy doesn't know why this guy's sleeping under a couch and carrying around a plank of wood. He just knows this guy raped his fucking sister. Is his sister, right? Or right?
Yeah, it's his sister. Yeah.
Okay. And he's like, and Nick Cage literally holds the pointy end of the stake, for lack of a better word, against his chest as soon as he sees there's a guy there, and the guy just literally is just like, okay, and he just presses down. So it's a pretty brutal way to go, and he does not, like, in typical Nick Cage fashion, he doesn't go quietly. It's not a subtle death.
He's obviously like a very tortured character, because even before that, he's tried to kill himself a couple other times, because earlier in the movie, Alva, she gets a gun from her brother, but he doesn't have any real bullets. He's only got blanks, so she loads it with blanks. And then he gets the gun from her and tries to shoot himself in the mouth. And he does a couple times, but it's just blank, so it doesn't work. And then also, like, after that, where he's like fully convinced he is a vampire, he runs out into the sunlight intentionally, and he's like screaming, no, he can't take it anymore, just take me or whatever. Obviously nothing happens because he's not a vampire. And then that's when he like accidentally runs into the side of a building and starts hallucinating that he's talking to his therapist.
That's when we get revealed that I don't know if the therapist was ever real. There's no real way of knowing.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah,
I really, that was what I originally took from it. I was like, oh, so this whole, like, all these scenes with the therapist, they were just ways of him, like, sort of like trying to put his logic brain on him, saying goodbye to the therapist. It's like, I don't need you anymore. That's him being like, I don't need logic anymore. I know that this, what we know is a crazy delusion, is the reality, and I'm just going to roll with it.
I didn't think about that.
I mean, I could be wrong. There's no definitive answer to that, but
the only time we do see her outside of like the therapy office is he calls her to like get a schedule moved up, but she's in her house. But I mean, that easily could be not real too.
Yeah. And also, like, there's something about a scene that I noticed, and I only like caught like a glimpse of the guy. A guy walks in and like gives her a hug around the neck or whatever, shirtless dude, and then walks away. Was that Alva's brother? He kind of had a similar haircut, I think. I was like,
I don't know. He was like a young dude. He was like,
he was definitely much younger than her. She was a little bit like, she was maybe in her 40s, and this guy was much younger. And to my eyes, just because of the hairstyle or whatever, I was like, man, that's a weird connection to have. And I was sitting here thinking about that. I was like, oh, well, maybe if he did imagine that would explain it, but not really, because he doesn't know her brother.
Oh yeah, not really.
There's no reason for him to know that. I think that maybe I just got my wires crossed. But I'd also, no matter what, that seems like sort of a detail for no reason, like sort of a not necessarily a loose end, just sort of like an oddball thing. And this movie's full of those. What about those fucking mimes?
That's right.
Yeah, the mimes
in this movie. Who knows why? No reason. He's out in front of, not commented on. Nothing happened. It's shown twice, 2 times doing these.
Maybe it's just showing that he is insane.
maybe I don't know, but like,
or his hallucinations, because it was out in front of his apartment, right?
Yeah,
but like you would think that all of his hallucinations tend to be primarily focused on him being a vampire. Like that's what he's fixated on, and those don't have anything to do with anything. They're just fucking mimes.
But that was still pretty early in the movie, though. I feel like
it was maybe the midway point. I want to say
it wasn't. I can't even quite remember now.
It wasn't before any bloodshed, I don't think. Or it was before before Bloodshed, I think, and before Alva got taken. And then,
do you all think there's one point in the movie here before he goes like full vampire with the teeth and everything, where he's like sort of transforming, quote, into a vampire, where he sees a roach in his apartment and he grabs it and eats it. So Nick Cage can be kind of method. Do you guys think that man ate a cockroach in real life? I would not put it past him.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It wouldn't surprise
me. Cockroach in real life.
Oh, he did not. Okay, that is some trivia.
Are you serious?
3 takes.
Oh my god!
When he eats it, it looks like his face. Like it looks like he's eating a roach.
I'm gonna read you this piece of trivia about this.
Oh my god! I'm gonna read you this.
It's moving. It's alive. That is a living fucking cockroach.
Yeah. No.
Oh my god!
So let me read you this, because you are gonna. This is like peak Cage right here. Okay.
Fucking Cage, dude.
The cockroach scene was entirely Nicolas Cage's idea. A decision he greatly regretted later on. Cage received a number of calls from animal rights activists about the scene and defended his actions by asking them if they could honestly declare that they'd never used a can of Raid in their homes. Originally, Lowe was going to eat raw eggs, but Cage suggested he ate a cockroach instead because he wanted to shock the audience. Quote, I saw it as a business decision because when people see the cockroach go into my mouth, it's like the bus blowing up in Speed. People really react, and it's like worth $2 million in special effects, and all I had to do was eat a bug. So it's good business. Bierman made Cage do a second take and eat a second bug, but he ended up using the first take anyway. Sorry, there were 2. That's my mistake.
Still bad.
2 cockroaches. Yeah, 1 is bad.
I
mean, Nick Cage. Like he's got a point though, dude. Yeah. Fucking smart as shit. I mean,
look, but that's not the standout scene of this movie. I have never seen that. No,
it's that's so, true. Like, but I mean,
not the bus blowing up in Speed.
I mean, it sucks for him, but if he doesn't mind, then fuck it. I mean,
how much cocaine do you guys think Nicolas Cage was doing in real life at this point in his career? It's the late 80s. You know.
I'm thinking his body mass is 40% cocaine, probably.
Yeah, he's looking pretty skinny in this movie. Yeah,
dude, what even was that accent? It like it shifts so much.
It's not consistent at all.
It's like all I was, and even the first time I heard it, I was like, I don't even know what he's trying to do. Like even like the original, like the kind of core accent, I just like couldn't place it. I was like, I don't even know what this voice is.
Was he trying to do like a dandy vampire, like a well-educated, like rich, fancy vampire voice? Maybe that's like the best. I
honestly have no. I couldn't place it. Because I don't think it exists. Like it was like he had some idea in his mind, but he was just really bad at doing it, but just stuck to it because it's not anything that could be like, oh, he was trying to do like a British accent, or I have no idea what he was trying to do.
Here's what I originally thought, and then I'm going to read to you some trivia that will help shed some light on it.
Please do.
My original thought was, okay, so he's trying to do a British accent. He's doing what he thinks is a British accent, and he has done less than zero research on this or practice, and it's just flitting in and out like nothing. And he's constantly just like, I go down to the store and I want to get something nice for myself. I don't know. I'm making up words, but like he's just very haughty, sort of like trying to do like a mid-Atlantic accent, which is like something that they did in early like think about the voice that they use in like early cinema, where it's like I don't know. Like the 40s or whatever, you'll have a guy come in and like, hello, sir, it's time for you to go home. It's not nice for you to be here. And all this, like, you know, it's that sort of thing where it's like, that's not a real accent. That was invented for the movies. That's sort of like was an idea to bridge the gap between English accent and American accent, and sort of like give a unilateral European white ethno voice. And that's kind of what I think he's kind of flitting in and out of. And I was like, okay, but he just sucks at it. He just really sucks at it. And it's really distracting. So, and it was hilarious. It was distracting because it was hilarious. So it's like, it's a win regardless, but it's not the win that they're going for in my mind. So here's what I found in trivia for that. Ready? Peter Strange accent is supposed to be a fake accent used by the character because he thinks he sounds more elegant and smarter, hence the literary agent job. So it's a choice that he's making to have him do a bad accent. And if you notice, apparently, he'll flit in and out of it. And here it goes on to say this. Yeah. So the accent comes and goes throughout the movie and is more prominent when trying to impress people, and less so in scenes with people like the psychiatrist. So when he's trying to be impressive, when he's putting on his Jason Bateman face, that's the voice he's trying to go for. He's not good at it regardless. He's almost so bad at it that it's tough to parse that that's what they're trying to do. Certainly
it wasn't obvious to me. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but
right?
But it's because then it like
a child's idea of what an English person sounds like.
But also, the problem is with like trying to put it to logic, like, oh, the audience will figure that out, is he goes to like different accents. Sometimes he sounds like a Valley girl, like you know what I'm saying? Like so I'm
Nick
like,
Cage already on
Nick
his
Cage
own
just not know how people talk. Like it's so to me.
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
it's just like, it was just so wild to me because there was like 3 different accents that were like blended together that varied in different like degrees at any given point in this movie, and it was impossible to be like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
it's supposed to be a pathetic attempt at an accent, but it's done so pathetically that you just think that he's acting it pathetically, and it starts to sound like there's even more than 2 accents. There's more than just the mask accent and the real.
It was wild.
So you're saying,
but I loved it. It was like cracking me up.
You're telling me that
fucking accents.
Nick Cage acted so well that we couldn't even tell that he was acting.
No. I'm saying that he tasked himself with acting, doing a bad accent as part of his character, and instead we thought that Nick Cage is terrible at accents.
What a choice!
So if his goal was to convince us that Nick Cage, the actor, is bad at pretending to have an accent, then he succeeded. But he did not succeed at convincing me that Peter Lowe has an English accent when he's trying to impress people.
Oh man,
that's all.
I think we covered like a lot of the big scenes. Was there any except him like riding down the street screaming, "I'm a vampire!
Dude,
I'm a vampire!"
I love that scene where he's talking to a psychiatrist and he's like venting about Alva not being able to find the file. And he's like, I've never misfiled anything in my life. You call yourself a psychiatrist?
Yeah.
See, that's
who would do that?
That's the scene that makes me think maybe even more than any other that the psychiatrist maybe was never really there, because like she's sitting there explaining to him what the meaning of the word misfiled is. Obviously you know what that is, and he's just being like such a prick about it. It's like, that's clearly like, it's not just him losing sanity while going to see a therapist. It's him using a therapist, like a therapist is standing in as a signifier of his sanity. She's losing the battle of sanity.
You might be right too, because she even seems to kind of have this like attraction to him. Like, I don't, there seems to be this like kind of sexual tension between them. Did anybody else pick up on that?
No, I didn't. I didn't get that.
Really? Okay.
I do know that like she's also like, you've been, telling me you've been telling me when the session's over, even when it's not. It's like you don't want to be here. And that's like there's all these signifiers that I don't know if it's a metaphor or if it's something in his head that's a metaphor, or if it's just something that's happening within the story that's a metaphor. But either way, it's a good metaphor for him losing his mind. Not even metaphor. It's just an outright way of stating that to the audience without, detailing it. But she's if she's real, she's not a great therapist. She's not really nailing it with this guy.
Oh my God. He's trying to talk to her on the phone. He's got the teeth in. Oh my God, the fucking teeth, dude.
Trying to do the accent with the teeth in. fantastic.
I mean, so many things about this movie are so bad, and so many things about this movie are so good. Like,
That's the thing, is like
showing him going to buy those teeth and there being like a good version that aren't even that expensive. They're like, what, $15?
they were $20. They were $20.
Yeah, and he just didn't have the cash, and so he just, instead of like going to an ATM or something, he just buys the shitty $2 ones and wears
like-
them for like a third of the movie.
Whatever's going on in his head, it doesn't take much for him to like. He just, whatever support he can get for the delusion is what he takes.
Yeah.
And also,
the plastic ones, like the way
Yeah.
he speaks.
I love when he's like, so when he has that final big confrontation with his, with his psychiatrist, so to speak, he's talking to a wall, and they keep cutting between those two scenes. I loved that editing, and that saved me on my opinion of the editing. But also, it showed him saying goodbye or whatever, and to me that was like, oh man, it was just such a great way to like show somebody just letting go of all restraint. It's like, you know what? Fuck
You're
this.
right, Randy.
And also,
Good call, man.
it's a good way of showing him his fixation starting to shift. Like that's the point where he stops fixating on being a vampire and instead starts fixating on this imaginary woman who is introduced to him by a psychiatrist. Like the next 10 minutes are dedicated to him walking around talking to himself and
That's
having
true,
fake
and he
arguments
just
with a fake
talks to
woman.
her. Yeah,
And then like at one point he's like, I think I explained it pretty well, and I'm a vampire. Let's not dwell on it or whatever. And so it's like his psychosis has moved on to another like level. It's like the vampire thing is not even interesting to him anymore. He can just walk around in the sun, no problem, without even thinking about it. He can do all this shit without even thinking about it, because it's just like sort of, that's a secondary psychosis at that point, until Alva and her brother show up and give him the opportunity, so to speak, to fulfill what he was trying to do earlier, which is to have him be murdered by stake through the heart by somebody who fears him. What he thought that they would know he's a vampire because he thinks he's a vampire, but he did just rape and kill people, so he got killed for that instead. So it's almost like if they had left him, if he hadn't been killed in that moment, I think that like the next hour of film would be him completely forgetting about the vampire thing altogether, except for maybe a few like, oh yeah, I can't eat garlic, shoot, or whatever. Like, and instead just be like fixating on this person that doesn't exist, or who was actually played by, I think, the same woman who was his murder victim in the club. And his delusion of the woman that he's supposed to fall in love with, I believe, is the same actress as the woman in the club in real life that he murdered.
Oh, sure.
So he like transposed that person into his psychosis, and so now he's talking to a dead girl basically, and having arguments with a dead girl, and having a bad relationship.
We know that was real because we see like a newspaper of it that a girl was killed in the club. So like it does give us hints about like what has really happened and what is not. Because then at that point you could be like, well, was that first girl like even real? Like the girl that he's like
his vampire chick, or that he like hallucinates or whatever. I think she is real because she comes into the club with her new boyfriend, quote, Donald.
Yeah,
and then
I meant even like I meant even like the first girl that he kind of leaves at the museum.
I got you.
I mean, like I guess it doesn't matter.
She is supposed to be in his mind. The reason that the psychiatrist introduces him in his mind, the way his mind is working, is, well, I'm a vampire and I don't need you anymore. And you know what? I'm just going to live life as a vampire, or whatever he says. Psychiatrist says, well, you know, I wish you had said this before. I have a patient that's just like you. She's been coming in saying all the same things you're saying. And it's the woman that he killed by biting on the neck. So I think the way his brain is working is that is now his concubine. That is now his vampire slave that he is now going to have a relationship with. But because he, has a psychosis, even his slave, like vampire slave, isn't going to just come quietly with him. They're going to have arguments. So it's just this manic depressive thing where it's like he's so happy and they fall in love instantly, and then he's walking around talking to her and talking to himself, and then like within 10 minutes they're at each other's throats because that his mind is manic at that point. So I think it's kind of fucking interesting the way that they played that. That turning point could have been like, I don't know, it could have been a huge turning point for that character. Obviously he was going to still keep hurting people for whatever one reason or the other, but I like that they didn't.
Let's try and wrap this thing up. I think we kind of covered it all pretty well. Anything else y'all want to touch on before we rate it?
I'm good.
Good?
No, I'm good.
Good.
I'm just listening to Randy.
Sorry.
Randy's enlightening me over here,
Yeah.
honestly.
The man in shadows knows.
I can see you
Out
now.
of the shadows now. No more shadow, man.
So,
Day man.
out of 5. Let's go ahead and rate this bad boy. Justin, you want to kick us off? How you feel?
Whew, I guess, man. I really don't know. Man. This one's tough. This one is tough because I had a blast watching this. I thought it was like I was literally like laughing out loud through both viewings of this. Like it was cracking me up. It was cracking me, but it's not like really good. It's not really good. And I don't know how I feel about that. Shit. I do like the revelation. I like the revelations that Randy's giving me. Like, I don't know. I really think that's interesting. I still think like Nick Cage did like a bad job, but also a good job. I'm so confused.
You're in the Cage nexus. This is Cage's Cage.
Yeah, it really is. And like, it's
I've decided.
things that like, I was like, that's a wild decision. Like, that's so dumb. And I'm like, that's like wildly brilliant. Like, it's like, I don't know truly what to think of it. So I guess I'll go somewhere in the middle just because I don't know where the fuck, I don't know what the fuck to do. I guess I'll give it a 3, but give it the half star for the Yabo. So I'll end it at a 3.5, I guess. I think that's fair.
In Yabo rule, Jesus.
The old Yabos. It's been a while. I feel like we haven't gotten a Yabos in a hot minute.
Well, you got him.
Congrats.
Thank the Lord.
Randy, how you feel out of 5?
So Justin's completely right. This is this is a classic case of Cage's Cage. The thing about Nick Cage is that no matter what movie he's in, well, unless it's like clearly just a cash grab for him, which there are a few of those. But for the most part, like his most cagey roles, he always swings for the fences. He goes fucking nuts, and like I respect that on a certain level. I think he's a little out of his fucking mind for real. And I think
you would almost have to be.
Yeah. But I also think that like, I don't know, like aside from it, like respecting that aspect of it, I think that maybe his bad acting almost enhances those moments where he's like acting as wildly as possible, because no one else is going to go as big as he is. And nobody else is going to be as like ridiculous as he is while doing it. So, yeah. I mean, it's tough for any movie like that with Cage to really rate it based on other movies, because how many movies are really like this where the lead actor is just leaning in to every instinct they tell you not to have when you're acting? Like, yeah, I don't know. But that said, I think this is for me like the defining Nick Cage role. Like, setting aside the fact that it's a meme for a reason, and setting aside the fact that I've seen these freakouts on multiple compendiums of Nick Cage freakouts, and they rank among the best. But like the movie itself, like Justin said, it's oddly brilliant. Like it's not a silly idea. It's kind of a silly idea, but it's really like, it's somewhat dramatic, somewhat comedic, and it just kind of pleasures both parts of that brain for me. There's not a whole huge point to it necessarily. There's not like, it's not saying a whole lot except here's a story. But the story itself is so engaging, and the acting is so goddamn hilarious that like, how can you not enjoy it? I don't know how you wouldn't enjoy this movie. It's a complete crowd pleaser as far as I can tell. I would watch this. I'm going to buy it. I rented it. I'm going to buy it. So I loved it. But that said, like, yeah, it's got shortcomings, and it's weirdly one of those movies where its shortcomings sort of like combine and mesh into a blob of success. And like, it's like when you put the wrong ingredient in a cake and it still comes out pretty good. Like, it's fucking just wild.
Like carrot cake. It doesn't make sense, but it's delicious.
Carrots shouldn't be sweet, but they're delicious cakes. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I can't emphasize that enough. I think that like the editing lost me for a little bit, and I thought maybe that's a choice, but if they were going to make it disorienting, I would think they'd make it disorienting at the end. But at the end, it really seems to come together and make sense. So I don't know. The editing kind of like left a weird taste in my mouth, but the parts that were great about that were great, and the parts that were weird, just like Nick fucking Cage. Then there were some sort of like oddball choices. Like, I don't understand them. I don't understand the mimes. What are the mimes for? They're funny, but what are they, besides a quick laugh and like a question mark floating above my head? What purpose do they serve? And then there's a lot of just like little things like that. The way people interact in this movie is fucking weird. There's one moment where he's looking out his window and he sees a couple like buying a hot dog and some sodas from a cart vendor, and they start kissing, and the cart vendor's just like sitting next to them, tapping him on the shoulder with their
to give them a Coke
for like 25 seconds. They're just making out. He's just tapping them, and I'm like, no, nobody. What's happening? Like, is this just to compensate for the fact that you can't hear him be like, hey, take these from me, or like, you know, like the way an actual person would be like, hey, I don't have all day or whatever.
Damn, he is always insane.
I don't know, man. It's just a weird thing, but I love this movie. Sort of like starts with this Prometheus idea of, okay, so Renfield's a weird character. What if we put Renfield in New York and actually made it an actual psychosis instead of actual vampires?
Yeah.
Let's see how that plays out. And they happen to have the right guy for the job, the most insane one. So yeah, I like it. So my score, I guess you want probably.
Yes, please.
Probably. Let's go with a 3.75.
3.7. Oh, got a one up me guy, huh?
I just don't think it's quite a 4. The editing and the oddball shit just really like lost me a little bit, but everything else about it, and also like some of the brutal scenes are pretty goddamn brutal, and it's kind of tough to reconcile that with how silly some of the rest of the movie is.
It's true.
Yeah. So this movie, I wouldn't call anything about this movie brilliant, really. It's wildly entertaining. It's I think tonally it's just all over the place, and what I kind of think happened is like maybe the filmmaker had a certain idea in mind, and then Nick Cage was like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, and then proceeded to do that, and then we got this like mixed bag of like tones and styles, and like the movie starts off.
That can be completely true.
That's a fair analysis.
The movie starts off with like this like almost noir type music, and you've got these like nice panning shots of like the sun setting over New York City, and there's a lot of like scene setting shots of that throughout the rest of the movie too. And it's just got this like weird noir type feel, and you've got Nick Cage doing this bizarre voice claiming that he's a vampire, but he's not really, eating cockroaches, and it's like wildly funny, but as you're watching it, you're not totally sure that it's supposed to be funny at all. So you're like, you're just like confused, like all over the map. You're like, just
that's
not
completely
That's true, but I think that makes it funnier to me. Like,
No,
it's so
I'm not
much less
complaining.
funny when people are intentionally like being like, Scary Movie is kind of fun, kind of a fun movie, but it's not as
Yeah.
funny as Sleepaway Camp, who is
No.
sincerely trying to do some shit
So-
that it could not handle.
This movie very much does remind me of my first time watching Sleepaway Camp, because I distinctly remember not being totally sure if they were trying to scare me or make me laugh or both, or even if they knew what they were trying to do, or if they're just like, let's make a fucking movie and see what happens. It's just like kind of this weird mixed bag, and it's not very often that you watch a movie and you just do not know what the filmmaker's trying to do. And I think an explanation...
I have a Criterion subscription, so...
Yeah, I don't know. My best explanation for that is Nick Cage just basically doing whatever the fuck he wants, and the filmmaker going, I don't know, I'm going to do what I can. So yeah, the editing is kind of rough for sure, but all of these things just sort of almost work to the movie's benefit in like an accidental way almost. It's I don't know, man. It's just like super entertaining. It's freaking hilarious. Nick Cage is definitely at 11. I'm going to go ahead and deem him Rage Cage in this movie. Fucking Rage Cage. I did buy it. I'm happy that I bought it. Actually, so if you're wondering, Scream Factory put out a copy of this movie, and it's like a double feature. The other movie that is included is a movie called High Spirits, that is from 1988, starring Steve Guttenberg. I've never heard of this. I don't know anything about it. If any of you guys listening have seen this movie, let me know if I should watch it, if it's worth watching or not, or if it's just like a weird, bonkers second movie that they just kind of threw on there for no reason.
Gutenberg. That's a weird thing.
Fucking Steve Guttenberg. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to give this a 3.5. It's like, I enjoyed it a lot, but I really don't think it's like a well put together movie. And I think a lot of this good things it has going for it were probably fallen into on accident or maybe done unintentionally, which isn't really a bad thing because it's still enjoyable, but you just can't give it much higher than that. I don't think.
Yeah.
You really can't.
We're all conflicted here.
Yeah, super entertaining. Anyway, so that's going to put the aggregate at a 3.6. Let's go ahead and get into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think.
Certified fresh to death.
Take it away, Juice.
Here we go. This is on Rotten Tomatoes. Small sample size, but maybe from the 80s. A weird one like this. It's got a 23 count on the critic score. So not too terrible, but definitely small. So let's go around the table. Let's see if you guys can guess what a critic would rate Vampire's Kiss. Ooh, I feel like this one's going to be wild. Let's start with Bob. Bob, what do you think the critics rated Vampire's Kiss?
I would be so shocked if they rated it high at all. I'm going to do like, man, I don't know, like a 45, I think. 45?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Based on what you're talking, I thought it was going to be much lower.
Yeah, me too.
Randy, what do you think? The critics 23, and remember this is from 1989, so I don't know like when these people are reviewing this, but
this is tough because I was going to go with 50, but I kind of want to spread it around since we're so up the river with this particular movie. I'm going to say I'm going to cover the bottom. I'm going to zone defense the bottom. I'm going to say 25.
Ooh, zone defense the bottom. Randy should have gone higher. Somehow, this is a 61%. It's fresh.
That's insane. That's insane.
It's fresh. 23 critics reviewed this movie. Of the 23, it does not tell me. God damn it. It doesn't split the goddamn Rotten Tomatoes. Really falling apart here. I don't have the numbers. I don't know. So somewhere in there they split on a 61%. So let me see. Oh, first, there's the critic consensus.
Oh boy.
Nice.
Here it is. He's a vampire. He's a vampire. He's a vampire.
Perfect.
Man, somebody really earned their paycheck that day. Somebody at Rotten Tomatoes writing staff just got paid.
Let me see.
That is not critical in any conceivable way. That is not a consensus of anything.
I'm seeing some top critics. One's rotten, one's fresh. One's rotten, one's fresh. And then two more rotten. So I guess the top critics are overall rotten. But a rotten one says, problem is that Cage's over-the-top performance generates little sympathy for the character. So it's tough to be interested in him as his personality disorder worsens. I
don't know if I agree with that.
But then on the other side, a positive is what really makes this worth seeing is Cage's outrageously unbridled performance. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's true. Like, if somebody had played this straight, I don't know if, I think it probably would make it worse because the character within itself is just a huge piece of shit. Like, even when you're not looking at him in his personality disorder, like, even at work, he's just treating his, like, workers like shit. So, I mean, like, there's no...
There's no vulnerability in his character for the most part, and when it is, it's so like garishly stupid.
Yeah, so it's really
it doesn't play.
Stupid that makes it kind of like enjoyable. Like, so I don't know.
I think it could be like everybody around him, like the the Alva character, and even the psychiatrist, as ineffective as they are, as she is as a psychiatrist, like both of those characters I thought were really strong and like played very straight and played very capably. And it felt like they felt like real people to me, and like I was rooting for them. So when that guy says negative to the negatives that, you know, his over the top acting made me not sympathize with him, well, that's okay, because we've got these other characters that at least for me, Alva in particular, that I'm very invested in. And then on the other hand, though, like if you put Steve Guttenberg in this movie, if you put I don't know, who's Mel Gibson, if you put Mel Gibson in this movie, oh Lord, you know, like bad press aside, he was just hot at the time. Like he would have brought a level of nuance that Nick Cage will not bring to this performance. I think he could have brought like somebody like that, like a more traditional actor, A-list actor,
like an American Psycho, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
it could have been. Yeah,
I mean,
Patrick Bateman's a huge piece of shit. Yeah, that's true. I tried to sympathize with Patrick Bateman.
Good job.
Well, your daily lotion regimen is not strong enough to sympathize with that.
My facial skincare is not on point, so it's hard to.
You don't look moist enough.
Yeah, nope. I don't have that moist glisten. So let's get into the audience score. 8,992 people rated this movie on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's go back. Randy will start us off this time. Randy, what do you think the people are feeling on this one?
This movie is an internet movie. This is a movie that has, I think, been resurging. Like, as I understand it, been resurging because Nick Cage is so ridiculous that it's so prime fodder for internet memes and GIFs and all this. Yeah,
I feel you.
So I think that a lot of these reviews are going to be new. I'm just explaining this whole process for my own benefit. So I think everybody is going to be, for the most part, sort of new to the movie. They found it through Nick Cage memes or some shit. And I think they're going to find it hilarious because that's what they came to the movie looking for. So 75.
75. All right, Robert, what you got for us?
I like your train of thought, especially knowing that I just have seen this meme over and over and over again. So, you know, people on the internet are likely to have rated this. Oh, yeah, I'll probably go, especially if the critics gave it a 61. Holy cow.
It's true.
So I'm gonna go with an 82.
82. This is this movie. It defies all logic. The audience score is lower. Wow. Randy's going to take it. 53%.
Wow.
Everything about this movie defies all kind of logic. I would have thought the same as you guys. Like when Randy was like explaining it, I was feeling bad because I thought Randy was going to lose it. And I was like, Randy's explanations always make fucking sense.
Yeah.
But no, Randy takes it this time. No, 53%. I don't know and this movie is just kind of hard to pin down in any kind of aspect, really. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
It's the Cage Nexus, man. He's such a fucking polarizing actor. Like, when he goes big, people are either completely turned off or they love it because it's funny. Or the third option, they actually think he's brilliant, which I think is probably the smallest camp.
I can completely understand like the people that just absolutely hate Nick Cage, and I'm happy that I'm just not naturally one of them because the dude's got some entertaining shit. But it's so easy to see why someone would be like, nope, not Nick Cage. I'm not watching, or I hate this movie. Like, it's so easy to understand that. I'm just happy that my natural inclination does not fall that way.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you
they got some wild shit, man.
Chances are, if you like Nick Cage, it's because he does this kind of crazy shit. And this is like the shining example of Nick Cage at his craziest, as far as I've seen. I haven't seen Port of Call New Orleans, so we'll see. But
I have to watch that now. I have to.
What was that? Bad Lieutenant 2, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
Holy shit.
But you need to go on a Cage.
Movie come out like last year that we never even covered. I remember watching the trailer for it.
Mom and Dad.
A lot of shit.
Mom and Dad.
Yeah. So, and I remember like reviews talking about him like losing his shit. You know, typical like Nick Cage. So I was like, damn.
The thing is, like, I almost it almost benefits from it being an older Nick Cage movie where it's not like the talking point of his whole career is him going nuts on camera. It just is something that he chose to do these few times. So like him doing it more recently has less impact to me because it's like, yeah, well, somebody hired him because they knew that's his bread and butter. We need to get the crazy guy. Let's do it. Instead of like discovering somebody who might do this.
I'm glad Miles made me watch this.
Me too.
Yeah,
dude.
Miles, thanks.
Thank you.
Good pick. Randy, do you have any more trivia you'd like to get into?
I do. I could go through a little bit more if you got the time.
Let's drop
It's
it.
totally time for trivia.
What you got?
So one thing I forgot to say about the cockroach was a direct quote from Nick Cage. You ready for it? The cockroach scene. Mm-hmm. Every muscle in my body didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. That's a trooper. That guy's a trooper. Way to go,
Dude,
Nick. You really are a stalwart example of man who eats cockroach. We respect it here at
The thing about Nick Cage is I could totally see, like, I feel like he's only committed because it was his idea.
Oh yeah, I think he's a narcissist, to be honest. And some of this trivia will lean into that direction, just so you know.
Yeah, for sure.
At first, it might seem strange behavior or over-the-top acting, but as Nick Cage meanders through the crowd in the club scene, as he walks up to when he attacks the girl, you'll notice he's actually mimicking the movements of Nosferatu in the original vampire from the silent era.
Yep.
So, like him walking around with his shoulders kind of up and kind of his hand, like that was a direct Nosferatu, and they even showed Nosferatu in this movie, so it wasn't But I admit, at least for my part, it didn't connect for me that that's what he was doing.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, I knew that he was like vampiring out, but I didn't know specifically Nosferatu. But anyway, the shots of Lowe walking down the street at the end, clearly mad and talking to himself, were filmed with a long lens and from a distance. The people walking past him are actual folks, unaware there's a movie being filmed.
Nice.
For example, the couple that Lowe Cage says, "I'm a vampire, kill me," to while holding a stake are not actors, but real pedestrians passing by who have no idea they're filming a scene. Their reactions are genuine. So
Awesome.
I think that Johnny
awesome.
I think Nick Cage is Johnny Knoxville's real dad. I think there's some blood in this man. In the DVD commentary, director Bierman reveals all the furniture and glass that Peter, Nick Cage, destroys in his apartment after Jackie dumps him, that's Cassie Lemons, were real, and the scene could only be shot in one take. 2 cameras were on the set for the shot, and one of them broke. He still can't believe he allowed Nick Cage to perform such a potentially hazardous stunt. Yeah, well, that's not the least of it. There's more hazardous shit going on in this movie. I want to...
Hopefully he didn't, like, really eat a pigeon.
I don't think they didn't show him eating a pigeon.
He'd be so sick. He might die.
You don't. That's avian flu, man. Birdemic. I want to do a quick shout out to the rest of the trivia comes from filmschoolrejects.com. 47 things we learned from Nicolas Cage's Vampire's Kiss commentary. Appreciate that. I usually don't go beyond the confines of IMDb trivia, but this movie just begged me to. So here we go. Director Bierman recalls meeting Cage and getting on very well, only to discover a week later that the actor had dropped out of the film. Cage was coming off the high of Moonstruck's critical and commercial success, and he was getting a lot of outside pressure from his agent to choose something with more prestige. Yeah. He, quote, "I responded to the pressure and I broke," says Cage, "but then I realized it was a mistake, and I called and asked if you would have me back. Judd Nelson was brought in to replace him, but obviously that wasn't meant to be." You guys know Judd Nelson, Breakfast Club and all that shit?
Wait, which one is he in the Breakfast Club? The young kid?
He's Bender, the badass.
Gotcha.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know how that... And Judd's been in some weird shit, so like over the years, so I don't know how that would have played if he would... I don't think he would have committed like Nick does, because nobody does. But he might have brought some more nuance that was severely lacking.
I don't think we'd be talking about this movie though. Like, I feel like it would have
been in the dustbin of history, probably, unfortunately. Yeah. And that's not Judd's fault. It's just, how do you ignore a movie that screams in your face like Nick Cage does? Let's see. The film was a non-union production, boo, and the scene where Cage and Cassie Lemons leave the bar to hail a cab was apparently shot with dozens of union members just out of frame harassing the filmmakers with bullhorns.
Damn.
Get 'em, boys.
Yeah, get them.
The arrival of the Bat in Peter Lowe's apartment.
Damn unions.
Union buster,
Whatever.
Union buster stains over here.
Rob over there.
Whatever.
Tommy Rob, we call him.
Tommy Bobby.
Sorry, I have a job.
Sometimes I just got to be a pain in the dick.
Yeah, we know. The arrival of the Bat in Peter Lowe's apartment triggers Cage to mention an altercation he got into with Bierman over the scene. This is in the commentary. It was important to me that the Bat was a real bat, and I didn't want this remote control bat, and I kind of went off my rocker a little bit. This is Nick Cage speaking, so essentially nuclear meltdown is what I'm imagining. The reason, he says, is that at the time, he was still very much a method actor. The artificial bat was crafted by an unnamed effects guy who also worked on Star Wars, but Cage was having none of it, and instead made his assistant go out to Central Park in search of a real, live bat.
That's
Send his assistant.
insane.
Can you imagine being Nick Cage's assistant?
Yeah,
Like,
you're
no.
Alpha. You are.
That.
You are. That's who you
I need a
You
pound of
better
cocaine and a real
pay.
live bat.
Be.
you know, like
Not even somebody working for the movie. I'd be like, bitch, send the fucking send
Animal
someone
control?
else. Not
You want me to
me.
get you a slice of pizza? I'm your guy. I'm not getting no fucking bat out of the
Go
park.
to Central Park and find me a bat? Like, I'd be like, give me some money. I'm going to the pet store at
How
least.
do you
Like
catch
something.
a bat? How?
So, fortunately, reason won out, and the stalemate came to an end when Bierman convinced Cage that if he was bitten by a real bat, he would most likely die.
You get fucking
Which I don't know if that's
rabies,
exactly
yeah.
accurate, but you might get rabies, or you might at least have a bat bite.
Go
If
to
you get
Central
rabies,
Park and
you're
get
fucked.
a bat. What the fuck?
Bats carry a lot of fucking diseases, so you
That's
know.
the thing. Central Park, it's like, go to like a store or go to like a professional. Like,
You're a fucking like Animals of Hollywood type of thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's
Call
89.
Bruce
They
fucking
exist.
Wayne.
go to Central
Get Jack Hanna on the line, and you'll fucking find a bat. It's
That
fine.
poor assistant. God damn the shit they had to go through.
That poor son of a bitch was probably out there all night before he came back empty-handed and was told, "Oh, we did the robot anyway."
That's what happens when you're not in a union.
That's what happens when you don't have subs yet. All right. Bierman feels very few people actually understand what the movie is about. Really, Bierman? Really? Cage says he's always been a big believer in in the ambiguous and letting it be about whatever people want it to be about. But his own take on the film is that it's a tale of loneliness driving a man insane. Okay, I mean,
Sure.
Big fans of Death of the Author there. That's fine. Let's see. Bierman finds an odd entertainment value in how cruelly Lowe treats Alva, and he recalls that most of the test screening comment cards expressed love for those scenes. That's interesting, man. I feel like those are the scenes like where his over the top. That's where they're really like oh fuck this guy.
It's a
Like I
little
feel
rough.
like.
Yeah,
I
hard
feel
to
like
watch.
test audiences in particular would be like, he's too mean to that woman. Like, but no, it's different time, I guess.
Wild, yeah.
People
I
love
felt
seeing-
so bad for that. Was the thing. It was such a zany movie that those like scenes really were like, oh man, this is hard to.
If she had played it like a little goofier, like she was like an assistant from like fucking like Liar Liar or some shit.
Yeah.
It would have been like a completely different thing. That woman played it so sympathetically that it was like, and like needed to for the conclusion of the film, really.
Yeah. Well, and her situation was that like her mom was pressuring her too, and
Yeah,
she played that
nobody
straight. And she like goes to
area.
her brother, yeah, like, hey, give me some bullets. Oh, you're being like, like dramatic. Oh, like like she was like doing everything she
Yeah.
could.
It's a hashtag Me Too film, really, because it's fucking like she's getting harassed by her boss, and people know it. The male boardroom laugh their asses off about it.
Yeah.
That was
Oh, she asked
terrible,
for a
yeah.
raise.
Yeah.
God damn, I forgot.
They're like laughing their dicks off at Dorsia or whatever about this woman being chased into a bathroom, and then
How did they get in?
And then, like, her boss, her direct boss, like, I think the older woman is just like, "Are you all right?" "Well, good. You got to be all right," or whatever. Like, people don't give a shit. They don't give a shit, and she has to go on. Like, she goes on the Pelham and all that. I don't know. It's crazy. So the nightclub where Lowe first meets Rachel, Jennifer Beals, reminds Bierman of how violent a place in New York City was in the late 80s. Quote, "There was a dead body in this place at the morning that we shot, and they had to cart the dead body out before we went in."
Shit.
So, yeah.
Damn.
Cage agrees, citing how this was filmed, quote, pre-Giuliani, whatever that's supposed to mean, as
He
compared
cleaned up the city.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yep. We're not going down that road. As compared to when he shot Bringing Out the Dead in 99 and they couldn't find any crime. So, okay, I don't know why they were looking for actual crimes in the first place.
Can't find any. The fuck?
Where's all the
He's a
crimes?
weird guy, man. Just couldn't find any crime.
There's some more here. I'm gonna try and truncate this and do it a little quicker. Beale was cast on a Monday and began filming on Tuesday. She was late. She was a late addition as the original actress cast, an unnamed quote unquote up and coming actress, hot new actress, pulled out because her fiance didn't want her rolling around in bed with Cage. "Oh man," adds Cage. Bierman recalls having a nightmare in which Cage, furious about the casting decision, stuck 2 needles in the director's eyes. Had a night-
This
Director's
dude
commentary.
is so high.
What? Stuck
Don't know.
2 needles in a guy's eye? What? I don't.
Not
Had a
for real.
nightmare. The director had a nightmare that
Okay.
took retribution for casting someone else.
Sorry.
Actually, Beals, did you guys notice that Beals was wearing pasties? There were some
Yeah.
pasties in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I actually meant
Almost
to bring
lost your
that up
Yabo
on
points?
Yabos just yeah. Oh, because it was so obvious. I was like, just
It
at
was
that
very
point, just
obvious.
wear a bra. Like when
Yeah,
what they were
yeah,
doing,
well,
they were just like making out on the bed. It's like just wear a bra.
Yeah.
It's like so poorly hidden.
Yeah, whatever. Bierman remembers a real love-hate relationship on set between Cage and Beals, to which the actor replies, "Probably I again don't know where my head was at when making this movie. When I was making this movie. Probably, again, I don't know where my head was at when making this movie." Sorry, bad read.
High
He
as
says
shit.
that
It's a
Yeah.
weird sentence.
he says part of the problem was that at the time he was not happy with his previous film Moonstruck. Quote, "At the time I thought it was a little too soft and I was into punk rock." He's a punk rocker.
Jesus.
That dude is.
Oh
fucking-
my god.
I kind of want to hang out with them for a night though.
Yeah. One night.
Just one night.
Just one.
night. It would be a good night, I
I
think.
feel like he's got stories.
Yeah. No
Oh.
shit.
That dude's
Stories
got
that he will
stories.
murder you for hearing.
Let's go find a bat, fucker.
Let's go find some crime.
So here's something that's pretty
Real
enlightening.
New York crime.
This is pretty enlightening. The first appearance of the mimes prompts Bierman to reveal, quote, "I don't know what this is about. I don't know what I was doing. I haven't got a clue."
Yep. Yep. That comes
At
through.
least we didn't try to read into
Let me
it and
put
make
my-
us look like dumb shit.
Let me put my Pikachu shocked face on here and
Also, I feel like we need to take a moment and say Straight Chilling completely supports unions. We don't want to get blackballed by the podcast unions out there. So just a joke, guys. Call me Rob. That's not what we call him, okay?
no, we call him Gothrock. That's an entirely
Yeah,
different
it's
issue.
Goth
That's
Mom.
accurate. Yep.
So if the Goths want to protest us, that's fine.
That's fair. Lowe's first slurred use of, quote, cunt leads Bierman and Cage to agree that they couldn't get away with that today being 1999. Bierman shot additional takes just in case, but they stuck with it. Quote, "I find it offensive," he says, but he is offensive, and you have to allow him to be an offensive character, which I thought was a salient point for using kind of a
Yeah, I mean, it's
and
not like
over-
that was like what was like that's an offensive character or like like they
Yeah.
could have done
He does
without
worse.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not like that was what
But that
sold
line
me.
read is so ridiculous. I don't want to mimic it because I don't like repeating the word and inviting that. He got dumped,
Yeah.
and he got dumped on, I think, on the phone or by note or whatever, and he's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
fuck
I
you,
get that.
sister C word, like whatever he says, and he just kind of like sits there for a second and then just blurts it out and moves on with vampire business. Let's see. Cage. Okay, this is a big deal. Okay, so speaking of danger on set earlier, motherfucker puts a gun in his mouth, shoots twice with blanks. Not a good fucking idea. I thought for sure, like, I don't know that much about guns. I'll totally admit that. But a blank is still going to have a fire. There's still going to be a blast.
Also, I assume that'd be loud as shit, putting a gun in your mouth and firing a blank. Holy, I mean, like,
tooth minimum.
So that was a real blank.
So here's this trivia about it.
God.
Cage
and
was
that's what killed. That's what killed. What's his name? From The Crow.
Cage was frustrated with the prop gun during the basement assault scene, but Bierman had to remind him that a gun with blanks could still actually kill him. Smart man, as this was 5 years before Brandon Lee's death.
Okay.
Cage channeled his irritability into challenging himself to say boo-hoo in a way that didn't ultimately sound utterly stupid. He didn't succeed.
Ooh, I don't know if I could take much more.
Holy shit.
Only 3 more points. 3 more points. Here we go. The scene where Cage runs down the street after assaulting Alva in the basement had to be reshot because he was running too fast for Bierman's camera. Cage told the director, well, if you want me to run slow, I'm going to run like this. And that's the run that made the cut. He caught a lot of criticism from people saying it was over the top, but Cage gives that note. Over the top is one of those things that doesn't work with me because I don't believe in such a thing. It's just stylistic choices. He says that Bierman caught him during his more experimental phase, something he hasn't really explored since. I don't know about all that.
What a rascal.
He's just it's a choice, guys. I made a choice.
There's no such thing as over the top.
There's no such thing as a bad choice, just choice. The woman Lowe kills in the club is played by director Larry Cohen's daughter. Larry Cohen's daughter was the murder victim in the club.
Damn.
The club.
And finally, Cage struggled with how to perform Lowe's death scene. Quote, it's one of the biggest moments for any film actor. I knew I just did not want to die quietly. I was sick of quiet little deaths. Natural, quiet little deaths are such bullshit. You scream. Those are quotes.
Oh, yeah, cool. I believe it.
That is a man of principle. Let it be known.
Very sane, very grounded individual, Nicolas Cage.
That's a man you want to have your home address.
Oh, Lord.
Gentlemen.
Oh, man.
You know what time it is? Time to go hunting.
Let's hunt.
Justin, who's the cooter of the week?
Oh my God, it's blatantly obvious. If you can't spot a cooter in Vampire's Kiss, you need to hang up your hunting gear because man, another good one for the year though. If we do like a top by the end of the year, we've got Varg so far and old Nick Cage, man.
He's my favorite.
Name even.
He's my favorite for top cooter of the year for sure. And I think it's hilarious that last year our top cooter was clearly Jeremiah Sand, who played opposite Nick Cage, who was acting pretty crazy in that.
That's true.
So he had to outstrip Cage, and now Cage is like past work is catching up. We're going in.
Yeah,
Peter Lowe.
It's not quite the Sand, but Peter Lowe.
The teeth and the
dude. So the attire. I mean, he's got the teeth and
the eyes, just to the way he carries himself.
Person is. There was something else I had for attire too, and I can't quite remember what it was. Shit.
The sunglasses, maybe the shades.
The sunglasses, the shades. Yeah, that's what it
Bingo.
was.
And then
the shades to hide yourself from the sun. That's so ridiculous. Obviously, a sexual deviant. Yeah. He rapes people, and even at the beginning of this, especially since it's in his mind, if like he's talking to the therapist the way he is, like, I had this really hot chick at my house, like just the way he like carries himself is ridiculous. So and then that also plays into the smug arrogance as well. He obviously, the way he treats his workers is a big, like the pompous boss and like demeaning them, especially when like it's not even necessary. Yeah. So you definitely have that. He's not much of a manipulator though.
What? No, he definitely is. He drives
In
out
what
to
way?
Alba's place to trick her into coming back so he can
my
torture
bad.
and murder her.
True.
My bad. That is a big manipulation scene, especially since he kind of like uses her job like against her. Is like when they get in the taxi, like
He
I
threatens her
will.
job.
Yeah. Okay. My bad. Yeah, you're right. That's slip up there. Thanks for keeping me in line, Randy. Last week I had to keep Bob in line, but this week Randy's keeping me in line. See, we're all held accountable here. You know, nobody's above the Cooter law.
There's a checks and balances here, and it actually
Yeah. Yeah. An actual effective checks and balances.
It is working.
unheard of in this country. Moving forward.
But we are pro union. Sorry for that mix up. So yeah. Obviously, Lowe is the Cooter. And there's no question about it. He is Cooter to the core.
Peter Lowe.
He's hitting all 4 points.
Nobody else in this movie even remotely qualifies, I don't think, except for maybe those douchebags he hangs out with. But, but like, they're such slight characters. It's
that's like such a
them.
quick. Yeah, they have that like one.
They're archetypes. They're not even characters.
I don't even think they have names.
Yeah.
So, Nick Cage, Peter Lowe. Oh my God!
Could you imagine this movie if it was recast, or not recast, but if Christian Bale had chosen this movie instead of American Psycho to make? Do you think he would have brought something like elevated it, or would he? Would it just?
I honestly think this. I feel like it would have been played a lot more straight. Now, if Christian Bale had been it, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, because it's got so many like similar threads to American Psycho, so it's hard to say.
Now imagine American Psycho with Nick Cage.
Yes, please.
I want to see both these movies. Let's go.
I wouldn't mind living in those realities.
Yeah, let's Mandela affect our asses into the reality where that's the case. I want to see those fucking movies.
Me too. Let's go ahead and skip the news tonight, but we do have a voicemail. So let's go ahead and jump into our what is it? Fucking, I don't even know what we call this anymore. Hotline Scream. That's what we're calling it. That's what we're definitely calling it.
Hotline Scream has taken the lead.
Okay. Hotline.
I've been beaten into submission.
I think Nicole even dubs it in this voicemail.
You right.
Whatever.
You're right.
Sorry, Randy. I was just gonna stay out of it. But
the next segment I name is gonna be twice as long. So
nice. So let's go ahead and hear what Nicole has to say. Here we go.
Hey, Hotline Scream. Nicole here with some thoughts about Inside. We talked about this on the Slack channel a little bit, but I think in general you guys had some really interesting things to say about Inside. But I've been thinking about this movie a lot for the past several years, and, I had some things to add. You guys mentioned how you weren't sure what the nurse's role was and, why that little weird scene was in there. And I think maybe her role is to basically tell you what the whole movie is about, like in a larger context. Because to me, I have thought about this movie as one big metaphor for the trauma of like female reproduction, and in particular, miscarriage and infant loss. You think about Sarah barricades herself in the bathroom, and there's just blood and gore, and she's going into labor. And I don't think it's a coincidence that she ends up in a bathroom, because any woman can tell you that they've had some kind of traumatic, bloody experience in a bathroom. And I also think that the woman, the intruder, is possibly, well, she's definitely a metaphor for death, but I think that she could also, like, literally be death. She just kind of shows up out of nowhere. She's very mysterious. She's wearing all black. And basically she's there to claim Sarah's life and the life of the baby that should have been lost in a car accident. So, anyway, there are just some of my thoughts. Keep up the good work, guys. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling, Nicole. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Last week we covered Inside, and Nicole had some pretty interesting thoughts on it. Yeah, I think that's a fair point about like the nurse at the very beginning, basically setting the tone of the movie and like telling you of what's to come. Basically, she's like the Camp Blood of Inside. You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you?
I thought Yeah, I mean, those are some really great points. She had brought them up on the Twitch as well. I'm glad she called in to offer those because I know I carried the female perspective pretty well, but these are things that I hadn't considered actually at all.
Surprise.
How did you miss it?
Seriously though. Especially when she was talking about, I'm buying into that completely. The way the chick was like all dressed in black, the way she was like scarred up at the end, having the baby, and even the way they set up from the beginning, like the potential of like losing a child, because that's the whole thing is like, yeah, they explain it to us in the end, like, oh, she was in the other car. But I mean, at this point, like the lady can't like escape her own house. Like, the reality that they're creating isn't necessarily like sound, so I like that just kind of metaphor overall idea of like death and like,
that works. And I think like it adds some perspective to stuff like, if you see that woman as like the embodiment of death, the attacker, death is lurking around. She can't really be inhibited by anything. There's going to only be tamped away by mitigating effects. And this is a woman who's in labor, who's, obviously pregnant. So like maybe the metaphor is that, childbirth is constantly like evading death as long as you can for you and your baby, as long as you can.
Yeah.
And that the bare minimum, getting your baby into the world, for most women anyway. So like in that situation. So, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I do want to point out that the Google Voice text to speech transfer is hilarious in a few points.
It's always ridiculous.
She said something about they've had some kind of traumatic bloody experience in the bathroom, but it came out as buddy experience. They've had some kind of traumatic buddy experience in the bathroom. Like, oh man, that lady stole my chicken nuggets. Fuck.
I'm traumatized.
I feel like that's probably also true as well, though.
Yeah,
she stole chicken nuggets.
I wonder, this is something that hadn't occurred to me last week, but like, what's the significance of Inside randomly being said on like Christmas Eve? Like her baby is to be born on Christmas Day. Is there some sort of like Christ metaphor? Where like obviously the baby is like snatched. Well, kind of spoilers here. The baby doesn't get the opportunity to be born on Jesus Christ's birthday, which is like the day it's scheduled to be induced and actually born. Is there some sort of like metaphor going on, like like the bastardization of Christianity or something? Like it's snatched from its rightful.
I don't know. There's that, and there's the riot aspect that are going.
Yeah, we never looked into that. Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if there's something going on there. Maybe it's religious. Maybe it's cultural. Even like there's just like cultural significance to there being like discord in the country on what's supposed to be the joyous Savior Day. Birth of Jesus. And all this.
Could be.
A lot of stuff to chew on, but I really actually enjoy that perspective. I thought it made a lot of sense because we were in talking, like part of my review was like, we we're saying like, I don't really know what this movie means, or like not a lot of like, metaphorical things to chew on. But I mean, that kind of changes that, probably would have maybe bumped it up a little bit more if I had thought about that a little more.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty salient,
maybe a half star at least. Yeah, I like that.
There's some stuff going on in that movie that I think is probably lost in translation, just because, like, there's some stuff going on in France. Perhaps there was anyways at the time the movie came out that we're just sort of unfamiliar with. But regardless, even if some of that stuff is lost on us, it's still a good movie and it's worth watching.
Yeah, no, it's still great. Man, we got some good Patreon picks this time. Oh, that was the poll pick.
Yeah, it was poll pick.
Good job, Brandon. But still, thanks for everyone participating. I'm glad we covered that instead of Carrie. Thanks everyone from Patreon.
Whatever.
I don't know how long I can talk about split screen effects and shit.
Whatever.
Thank the Lords.
That's pretty much all we got here this week at Straight Chilling. Again, thanks Miles for supporting us on Patreon and picking a movie for us to talk about. We're going to be back next week with a brand new show. We're going to be talking about Brightburn, which is coming out this weekend. So get your cheeks in the seats, watch some Brightburn, some spooky Superman shit.
Oh, man. What if Superman, but bad? I love it.
Yep.
Let's go.
I'm excited
Randy,
to watch it,
I feel like you're being sarcastic.
What? No.
You are excited, Randy. You've told me.
I can't wait to go to the theater and view
There
with
you
my
go.
eye sockets this beautiful, superb man flying about and wreaking havoc. That's my best
Dude,
Cajun
that's better.
vampire's kiss.
That's better.
I'm going
I
to
like it
That's
much.
damn doing too good.
slam
yeah.
my eyeballs.
That is too good. That's actually an accent I could place.
I shall slam thine eyeballs into thine
Still
screen.
too good.
Sorry, that's
Alva.
going Shakespearean. Shakespeare in the Park.
Still too good.
So, until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. We're on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join us on Slack, let me know via one of those social media platforms I just mentioned, and I'll send you a link so you can jump on there. We talk about the movie of the week. We talk about, we've been talking about Game of Thrones quite a bit, actually. We talk about new movies coming up, TV shows we're watching, Joe Bob, talk about all kinds of fun shit. So get in on that. Also, check Juice out on Twitch. Join us for our Joe Bob live watch party this Friday, the last one of the season. Get your ass to the theater, watch some Brightburn, and until next week, as always, everybody please keep chilling.